Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Hello and thank you for joining us here on Global Television. I'm Uyag Mofwebe, welcoming you to Tuesday's edition of Global Morning. Thank you for making the decision to be with us here on the program today. As always, it's going to be another 3 hours of plenty of interaction here on Global Morning. It's been very, very, again, eventful this last couple of days. Third day of the week, as we know, it's almost, gradually inching towards the midweek. But then it has become one form of development after the other. In the case of Nigeria, when you think the issue around, the JAMB results controversy has been laid to rest, and then there is another angle, there's yet another angle, and it just keeps evolving from one phase to another. We understand that JAMB is now saying that by tomorrow, which is Wednesday, they are going to release about 379,000 results that had been withheld. That apparently does not bring closure to this imbroglio, as some of my friends would say, that has enveloped the board in the last couple of weeks. It has been very embarrassing. It has been, to put it mildly, nasty. We're seeing all sort of narratives to this development, but the question has been ultimately, how do we move past these points, make the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board as robust and vibrant as it should be in light of its mandates. In the first instance, we're seeing calls for the resignation of the man who heads this all-important board, Professor Ishaq Oloyede. There has also been concern as to whether or not his resignation, if he were to actually tender his resignation, all right, answer the question of the house cleaning that has to happen within JAMB itself, all right. The CBT has been here now for about a decade. We have seen the experimental phase, the teething issues that came with the computer-based tests, if you like, platform of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board in terms of how it conducts the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, which is the UTME, and other examinations, and of course how it does its testing. Now, have we improved? Are we still on same spot as we were 10 years ago? No, we are not, obviously. But how have we been able to, in a way that is brilliant and smart, handle the glitches associated with the CBT platform? Now, recall that 2 years ago, that was in 2023, there was this case of a young lady, Mesoma, from somewhere in the southeastern part of our country, who had been accused at that time of cheating in the exam. Now, 2 years down the line, one would have thought that issue is all behind us, but it has resurfaced. Because there's now the theory that, who knows, maybe it was this same glitch associated with the CBT platform of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board that had worked against this supposed innocent young lady at the time. But in all of this, beyond the politics of it and the optics and all of the narratives flying everywhere, particularly on the social media, it has become a matter of urgent importance for the leadership of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board to ensure it cleanses itself from the inside out. You see, Nigeria is not going to be able to achieve much until there is institutional accountability, until the people who head public institutions also take responsibility. Of course, we're seeing Professor Oloyede cry on television. We've seen people applauding for crying. We've seen people call for his resignation. We've heard him say that, look, systems are not perfect. All of these things can happen. I mean, it's a human error. Some say, well, it's a computer glitch, whatever it is. But there has been an error. And it's how to move past this point. All right, we're taking a break now, everyone. We'll return shortly, talk some more, and up ahead. All right, so you basically realize that it's a case of using this as an opportunity to do the needful and ensure that JAMB becomes that standard bearer, so to speak, that it ought to be. But away from JAMB, there have been also other, still on JAMB, by the way, there have been other angles to this whole thing. Yesterday, the Speaker, or Deputy Speaker, I should say, of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Okezie Kalu, also lent his voice to this development, calling for some sort of, if you like, re-engineering, all right, overhauling of JAMB and all of these systems and processes it uses in carrying out its mandate, especially as it has to do with the conduct of the UTME. Because in the middle of this, we can't pretend we're not hearing word on the street of people talking about how that, hold on a second, how is it that the bulk of these issues are in the South, particularly with a concentration, a remarkably high concentration in the southeastern parts of the country? Yes, we can have all of the theories, right or wrong, correct or otherwise, but these are questions to which answers have got to be provided, especially given that in the heart of all of this, at the very center of it, is a public institution, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board. And it's also an opportunity for other public institutions to also learn something, all right? Take a cue from what is happening with JAMB now to improve their own processes, whether internally or how they serve members of the public, citizens of this great nation. Because whether you like it or not, once public trust begins to erode, there's next to nothing you can do about it. One time, for example, we're looking at a particular report some years ago of how that a survey was done. Americans were asked in that survey the entity, whether public or private, that they trusted the most. This was in the United States. And for many of them, the number one was the U.S. Army. And you're wondering, hold on a second, the U.S. Army. Now, if you were to extend that sort of survey to Nigeria, what public institution would the average Nigeria, let's say if you talked to 10 Nigerians across maybe geopolitical zones, what will be the highest ranking, if you like, most trusted public institution in Nigeria? Will it be the army? Well, let's just say the defense or military, all right? Will it be the police? Will it be, well, the civil service? Will it be the judiciary? What exactly would be that institution that will be trusted the most? Will it be the Federal Inland Revenue Service? By the way, in the case of the U.S., for private entities, they said Amazon was number one for them. All right, let's take a break, everyone. When we return, we'll walk you through big headlines across our national dailies today.
your top morning show here.
Fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the letter.
We're on the road to protest. The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
disbursing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
That we must run in accordance with the Constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
All right, time to turn to the papers real quick for you. We'll begin with today's issue of Daily Times, but before that, my colleague, Queen Agaba, who brings color to Tuesday Global Morning, is on the program.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure doing Global Morning with you.
Right.
And bringing the front pages of the papers and talking about topical discussions with you on this program.
Right. All right, Queen is going to start us out, I should say, with the Daily Times newspaper this morning. We have quite a number of papers, by the way, so let's go.
Yeah, on the front page of the Daily Times newspaper, we have big story here, says 2027, no position yet on sharing formula between Atiku and Obi, according to Obedient Movement. And above the nameplate here, we have EFCC arrest 120 suspected internet fraudsters in Lagos. Cancer touches U.S. oil and bidding. Okay, I beg your pardon. He says cancer touches us all. Bidding speaks after diagnosis. So apparently, Joe Biden has been
diagnosed with I think it's
cancer.
called pancreatic cancer. They say it's a very nasty form of it. Yesterday, President Trump sent his heartfelt sympathies, and just to also identify with him and his family in this very trying time of their lives.
Yes, we sympathize with them. And just to add, over the course of the week, last week and even the weekend as well, of course, I'm always online, you know, looking at what, and it's interesting to know that staying in the comment section, the number of young people I have seen come down with cancer is alarming. back in the days when we hear cancer, it's usually older people, women of, let's say, certain age, 40, and if it's affecting women, we're talking about breast cancer and, you know, just cancer, basically, elderly. But over time, we see children. I particularly watched a video where a child had, you know, went completely bald as a result of cancer, you know. And I've seen teenagers, I've seen young people, and it's just really worrisome, you know, to know that. And then people have attributed the rise in cancer to certain things, food, you know, talked about overly processed foods, they talk about, you know, certain things that my big question is, maybe I'll have a doctor come on ground, but it's really very disturbing to know that young people can get down with cancer. I just hope that we stay safe and then we do regular checkups, you know, to ensure that these things are detected early, because I know that oftentimes it's easier to manage, and it's also completely eliminate when it's detected early, unlike when it lingers.
I think you nailed it all. Early detection is a big factor, and that's why the call for screening has never been louder than it is today. Women have been told time and again, look, you've got to screen, you've got to get tested as often as possible, particularly for things like breast cancer. And we do hope we adhere to all of this advice, and people find time to make a priority number one of their health.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to below the big story. We have terrorism. Stop linking us, Nnamdi Kanu, to Simon Ekpa, IPOB tells DSS. And then Tinubu flags off sports festival, insists revived NSC will end power play. Also, Southeast reps demand JAMB registrar resignation. Says there's been a lot of protest, analysis, controversy, conversations around the mass failure of JAMBites. And people say, some people say this is a big error. I mean, how can you make such an error? And some people are of the opinion that nobody is beyond mistake, and some people are saying that this is actually gross. To think that, I think I read about a particular student who took her life as a result of the JAMB results, the trauma, the pain, and all of that. But there are sides to these things. First of all, I think that that girl's parents should have been there for her at that point in time. And I think that people need to understand that when we get a particular phase in life, that's not all there is. There is a life after. That's why we need support system, we need encouragement. Nobody is beyond challenges. Nobody is immune to difficult times. You know, these times come. As simple as, it's just sad to find out now this is a mistake, it's a gross mistake on the part of JAMB in itself, and not just her mistake, but she's taken her life, you know, as a result of. So parents should encourage their children. It's okay to fail, even if you put in effort and then, you know, at the end of the day, the results, the outcomes are not as expected. It's fine. You try again. That's life for you. There will always be challenges. And it's just so sad that a child, a young student, you know, is taking her life for JAMB results. There are more hurdles ahead, and we should encourage people to try again. No, it's not the end of the world. When you make a mistake, you fail, try again. So
it even feels emotional to have the conversation around it, you know, because this morning my neighbors and I, on our way driving to work, we also had that conversation about, well, we started from Selma, the lady from 2023, who had that same controversy around the allegation of cheating. It was JAMB as well. All right, because that issue has resurfaced now. People are now saying, hold on, isn't it possible that this lady was also a victim of this, phenomenal glitch with the CBT system, you know, things like that. But we watch and see how this unfolds.
Yeah, we look forward to how it unfolds. But right now, the Southeast representatives are demanding that the registrars, demanding for the JAMB registrar's resignation.
But without cure this cancer.
Exactly. But it's just not just in this time around, it's in the open, and it's so obvious because it's JAMB. There are other sectors like this that make this gross mistake, the financial sector, recurrently. So what do we do about it? If we must be checkmating JAMB registers, let's also be looking at the other across board. Exactly. Well, these are the stories we have, but we have World Health Organization faces funding crisis amid U.S. withdrawal. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Times. Let's turn over to our next point of call, which is the Daily Trust.
So quickly, we begin with the headlines just beneath the nameplate of the Daily Trust. Says top left insecurity is a kicker. Navy to establish special command in North Central. 2027, Atiku will be denied power sharing deal. Another suspected kidnapper arrested on way to Saudi Arabia for Hajj. You understand, this was during security checks in Sokoto. The Star headline says, how cost of passports, driver's license, data shot up in 2 years. Okay, you can find those details, I'm sure, on pages 3 and 1 of the Daily Trust newspaper today. And lastly, Zamfara residents flee homes at night, return by daybreak. The writer says bandits kill 4 in Kogi. All right, well, grab a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper today and read up details for yourself. Let's turn to our next port of call, the Guardian newspaper.
Not so many stories on the Daily Trust, but we have quite a number of stories on the Guardian newspaper. We begin with the big story that says bandits and herders invasion puts 40% of region's food production at risk. So we've talked about food insecurity time and time again as a result of this bandits and herders invasion and their attacks in recent times. And then just directly underneath the nameplate, we have El Rufai alleges corruption among judges, lawyers, and seeks return of public trust. Your mandatory voting proposal unconstitutional, Falana tells NAS. And the Navy destroys 468 illegal refineries as experts prefer oil theft solution. The issue of illegal refinery has been the conversation of long, and good to know that the Navy is still on it, but we look forward to better ways to ensuring that there's a complete halt of these illegal activities. U.S. offers $10 million bounty for information on Hezbollah's financial network. And 800 killed in 10 years as communal conflicts threaten Niger Delta's economy. Benue Assembly Speaker decries reps, summons advocates training for lawmaker. Well, we'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll look at more papers for you. Please stay with us.
The All Progressives Congress APC, under the leadership of its national chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduja, CON, cordially invites the national leader and President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, Vice President Kashim Shettima, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, Deputy Senate President, Barrow Jibrin.
Many thanks for staying with us. We're still looking at the front page of the newspapers that we have. Still on The Guardian. Benue Assembly Speaker decries reps summons and advocates training for lawmakers. We find that story on page 29 of The Guardian. And then 2027, Obi set to declare presidential bid as Atiku explores ADC alliance. What other stories do we have? What are the other stories we have? Akpoti Udwagan petitions IGP and AGF over alleged defamation and threat to life. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. We'll now look at The Nation for you.
All right, let's turn to The Nation with the headlines above the name mast. First of all, top right corner says mid-term review, achieving price exchange rate stability despite headwinds. Those details await you on pages 2 and 3 of The Nation newspaper. Next to that is a picture of the Governor of Delta State, Right Honorable Sheriff Oboriwori. It says Delta opts out of suits on Rivers emergency rule with a rider state rights Supreme Court. Of course, that's quite understandable given that the Governor of Delta State alongside several leaders of the party in the state have now moved from the PDP to the APC. So evidently it will be conflict of interest if the Delta State government continues to pursue the case against the River State emergency rule from the PDP standpoint. All right, that much said, we move on to other headlines for you. INEC recognizes Moghalu as LP candidates, and the writer tells us Abure faction excited. All right. Federal government to deploy 90,000 kilometer fiber optic to boost internet connectivity. Sounds like a great idea in the works. So joins Olubado to reject Alaafin's leadership of Obas Council. What's more, Star headline says capital markets is anchoring $1 trillion economy targets, says Edun. Well, Minister of Finance, who doubles as the Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, says that the capital market is vital, very pivotal to the $1 trillion economy ambition of the Tinubu-led government. Southeast Reps Caucus seeks outright cancellation of UTME. You can read all those details on page 6 if you pick up a copy of the Nation newspaper. It turns out that's the much we have from the Nation's newspaper. But then some more will come through from the Punch Sports Extra. Queen Agaba is not much of a sports fan, but a broadcaster will say no one about everything and everything about one.
Absolutely. So let's look at the front page of the Punch Sports Extra. First of all, we have above the nameplate, Adesanya's Hall of Fame induction holds June 26. You might do much of the commentary at this point. And then we have Delta takes early lead on medals table. And Enugu, Ondo suffer handball football losses after walkover. Ogun Lagos clash in women's badminton semis. And we also have Osime declares Gala the best after 25th title win. United Arsenal orders Nkukun. Did I get that correctly? Nkukun. And then Alonso requests Modric renewal. Martins offered to Barca. And Club 200, that seems like the big story here. Club 200. Simon Yobo lead exclusive list of Nigerian bi-centurions at one European team. Moving on, Martins offered to Barca. Okay, took that already. Devils make Mbeumo bid. Doha, Aruna Goda continue Africa's world title push. And lastly, on Sports Extra, Punch Sports Extra, we have Aroko Dare dedicates 21st league goal to family. These are the stories we have on the front page of Punch Sports Extra. We will now look at the Nigerian
Before we talk to the Nigerian Tribune, yes, you know, the National Sports Festival is on now, of course, hosted by Ogun State. We understand that Ogun State as a host has been shining, if you know what I mean. The Hall of Medals has already begun, but it's still early in the day to draw conclusions. We're still days away from the end of the game itself. But Sunday was spectacular. We understand the likes of Davido and Asha performed as part of the opening ceremony. So it was a pomp and pageantry, as they say. The vice president was there on behalf of his boss, the president, to do the opening. Of course, the president was far away in Rome, having to spend time with the Pope, as it were, and things like that. So it's big for Nigeria, all right? So we talk about Super Bowl in the US, for example. We talk about different other big sporting events across the world, from continent to continent. So back at home, the National Sports Festival, yes, it's spectacular for us. I mean, no matter how you say it. And this one is big. It has moved to Ogun State. It just goes from state to state, and we wish all of the athletes across all of the competitions the best of this event. But let's turn to the Nigeria Tribune for you at this point. So we start with the star headline. Edo Bagudu Tijani rekindled hope of Nigeria's economy. Quite a number of riders with this headline. Capital markets key to achieving 1 trillion naira economy. Finance minister. Economic reforms on course. Budget minister tells World Bank. Digital economy attracted $191 million FDI in Q1. Again, that's according to the minister. $191 million foreign direct investment, first quarter of 2025. Well, sounds great. Hope it's not in principle. $2 billion fiber infrastructure rollout set for Q4. Shadow government, that's a kicker for you. DSS acted within bounds, legal expert. That's in reference to the issue concerning foremost political economist, Professor Patrick Tomi. Ibadan Airport to begin international flights early next year. That headline is credited to the government of Oyo State. Obi clarifies stance on 2027 coalition, says he remains in LP. National Constitution Summit. The Patriots Southwest delegates meet in Lagos Thursday. LP factions clash again. What do the writers tell us? OT, Nenadi Utsman-led NCC seeks court order, stopping Abure from parading himself as chairman. It's another exercise in futility, spokesman. Well, read up those intriguing details, maybe I should say drama, on the 15th page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. So much to talk about politics, but time will fail us to go into all of those details. But let's flip in the meantime to look at headlines from the Daily Independent newspaper.
Yeah, on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper, we have quite a number of stories. Big story here says 2025 UTME glitch. Southeast representatives demand JAMB registrar's resignation. We saw that in other papers. Insist on exam cancellation and suspension of ICT officials. But let me just quickly react to this story. The right thing must be done. But the question is, should the JAMB registrar resign? I know that we must take stringent measures to ensure that there's never a reoccurrence of these incidences, this sort of incident, because it's a big blow and, you know, it's a big fail right here. Wrecked a whole lot, caused a lot of havoc, time, money, efforts, you know, resources, basically, because first of all, these students spend time preparing for this exam. Spent money, some people had extra lessons, and it's so unbelievable, the scores that, you know, the effort they put, the sleepless nights, and then the scores that they end up finding as their results and all of that. But is that enough? Do we say that's enough for the registrar to resign, to push for the resignation of the registrar? That's a question. And then suspension of ICT officials, that is understandable as well, because, you know, you see how these little things here and there, first of all, we're talking about, I personally think that this is gross. And I think that we need to ensure stringent measures, not extremely capital punishment, but let it be evident that, you know, the measures were taken to ensure that there's never going to be a repeat like this again. But can we truly say that? Because we talk about elections, we talk about when we talk about elections, we see how ICT officials, relevant agencies talk about how prepared they are, how ready they are for the elections. Only for the time of the election, we have, if not years of preparation, because we expect that after an election, the roundup of an election, we expect proper planning into the next election. And we expect proper assessment. What are our fails at this current election? What are we going to look at moving forward to ensure that there's never a repeat of we don't have certain loopholes that we have now in the future? Do we really sit down and look at these things, or it's 1 month to the election, or we just talk about it, because it was in the news. INEC constantly talked about how ready they were, talked about how, ICT officials, we just down to security. But during the election, we just see that everything is an absolute sham, nothing is working, the beavers are malfunctioning, security personnel are not where they're supposed to be, ballot boxes have not gotten to designated polling units, and it's a circle. I keep saying it, if we continue to do things the same way over and over and over again, it is foolishness. And we expect, but this is what we see. Now we're talking about election that is general, but look at what is happening here as regards JAMB. As JAMB is not even as big as our election.
In terms of its mandates, as against INEC.
As against INEC. But you see what is playing out here. So if we don't take out measures, if we don't see that, some people are saying capital punishment should be given to both the registrar, the officials, the ICT officials, and everybody. To an extent, I think so. Because, this is gross. It's really, really, really gross. So that
it's quite disturbing from the picture you're painting. I think you've used that word "gross" a few times, which means that it's even deeper than we realize.
It's deeper.
And you're always asking yourself every turn. What lessons are we going to learn from this, or have we already learned, and how are we going to apply those lessons? Because most times what we have seen, it's pretty much like a pattern. Absolutely. It happens. We talk about it. We rail against the institutions involved. We just banter, and then everybody moves on like nothing ever happened.
And it continues.
The cycle just repeats itself again and again.
So I really hope that this time around we'll do the right thing, and there's never a recurrence. Because now there are talks around reconsidering another date, cancelling the exam completely.
So there can be a receipt.
So that there can be a receipt. And now this will cost time again, effort again, and all that. Well, Natasha petitions police and AGF. Accuses Akpabio Duru of cyber stalking. CJN laments lingering delays in trial processes. Federal government, Lagos government ask Nigerians to patronize local goods. NITDA saves over 300 billion naira from clearing IT project of MDAs. Edo Deputy Speaker resigns, cites equity integrity. Well, above the nameplates, we have Nigeria's capital market key to achieving $1 trillion economy, says Wale Edu. I'm not desperate for any position. My interest is fighting hunger. Peter Obi right there. And then we have Nigeria may miss 70% broadband penetration target this year. Ryder says federal government set to roll out $2 billion fiber optic infrastructure by Q4. And lastly, we have no bank insolvent. CBN reassures. Well, these are the stories we have on the Daily Independent newspaper. Our next point of call will be the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, let's quickly look at the Vanguard newspaper for you. Hopefully, this is our last paper. Right. From the top of it, just above the nameplates, capital markets key to achieving $1 trillion economy. Wale Edu, we brought you that earlier, right? What's more, JAMB glitches. Southeast Reps Caucus demands Oloyede's resignation. Akpotiu Duaga petitions IGP, wants Akpabio Sandra Duru investigated. And then the Star headline, 2027, why I'm in coalition, Peter Obi. What's more, quite a number of riders there, differs with Atiku's camp over VP slots deal. Details of coalition remain secret, ex-VP's aide. Coalition will trounce Tinubu on election day if what? All right, that's according to the PDP. ADC remains coalition party in Nigeria. Wonsu. Well, that's quite clear. Our skies must be defined by open opportunities, not closed borders. That's Festus Keyamo, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. Suspected rapists machetes 14-year-old girl to coma in Abuja. I don't know how I read this, but this is one kind of headline that sends jitters down your spine. Suspected rapists machetes 14-year-old girl to coma in Abia. Oh, wow, that's quite sad. But read up those details, as gory as it sounds, on page 14 of today's issue of the Vanguard newspaper. Hardship, mental health crisis looms, family physicians. Well, that much is understandable. Tinubu can't afford renewed crisis in Ogoni by forceful oil resumption. Mosop. Sani MBF disagree over cause of insecurity in northern Nigeria. Many feared dead in Yaya Maraba Road auto crash. That happened yesterday. We brought you the story as well. But here you can read it up on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper.
Well, these are the stories we have lined up for you on the front pages of our national dailies. We'll now take a quick break. And when we return, we'll be bringing you the global AM news. And after that, we'll have discussions on topical issues of your interest. So please stay with us. Global Morning continues.
disbursing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
That we must run in accordance with the constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Now the news in full. The crisis rocking the All Progressive Congress APC in Somolu local government area of Lagos State has taken a new dimension as some stakeholders and party loyalists have called on President Bola Tinubu to intervene in what they described as an injustice in the party's chairmanship selection process. At the center of the controversy is Honorable Bowale Silsimi, a grassroots politician and long-time APC loyalist who was reportedly endorsed as a consensus candidate of the local party structure. However, in a last-minute twist, his name was dropped in favor of another aspirant, leading to widespread anger and agitations and manipulation. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has expressed serious concern over the technical failures that affected the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, warning it threatens trust in Nigeria's education system. At a press briefing in Abuja, Kalu praised the board's registrar, Professor Ishak Oloyede, for admitting the errors impacting early 380,000 candidates in the southeast and Lagos and offering receipt opportunities. Queen Agaba has details.
Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Benjamin Kalu, however, noted that technical investigations revealed that a critical system patch was not installed at 157 centers, causing thousands of results errors. He further added that an independent audit by EduCare technical team confirmed the issue, tracing over 14,000 faulty records to affected centers.
However, we must recognize that these measures, while necessary, do not erase the trauma, disruption, and uncertainty experienced by our young people and their families.
The Deputy Speaker therefore proposed a 5-point reform plan, a full technical review, independent system audit, protection for affected candidates, transparent results data release, and stricter system monitoring.
It is imperative that candidates from the Southeast and Lagos who have actually borne the brunt of these failures are not further disadvantaged. JAMB must provide a clear, accessible mechanism for remark and appeal, especially for those dissatisfied with the hurried receipt or who experienced technical difficulties once more during the second sitting. Furthermore, coordination with WAEC and other examination bodies must continue to ensure that no candidate's academic progression is impeded by scheduling conflicts between the examination borders.
They assured candidates of National Assembly oversight while urging JAMB to restore public trust and prevent future lapses. For Global Television, Queen Agaba reporting.
In Imo State, the Renewed Hope Initiative has empowered women, youths, and young farmers with tools, seedlings, and financial support, all in a bid to boost food production and job creation. The event was held in Owerri with Barrister Chioma Uzodimma representing Nigeria's First Lady and National Chairman of Renewed Hope Initiative, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. Amarachi Ibe reports.
The Ndubisi Carlo Square in Owerri, the state capital, came alive as the Renewed Hope Initiative flag off its agricultural support program for Imo State. Representing the First Lady, Barrister Chioma Uzodimma, wife of the Imo State Governor, led the distribution of farm tools, seedlings, and cash support to hundreds of beneficiaries, including women, youth, and body farmers. She highlighted the initiative's commitment to reducing hunger, creating jobs, and empowering families through agriculture.
I express my deep appreciation to Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu for her visionary leadership and to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security for their critical support. To all Imolites, I assure you that my husband, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Hope Uzodimma CON, and I remain committed to supporting initiatives that improve your lives and foster development in our dear state.
According to Barrister Uzodimma, the support came under the 4 Renewed Hope Initiative, the Women Agriculture Support Program, Youth Agriculture Support Program, Every Home a Garden Project, and the Young Farmers Club. Barrister Uzodimma thanked the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Imo State Government for their collaboration.
To our beneficiaries, today is your day. You are the torchbearers of a new agricultural era. Go forth, cultivate, innovate, and prosper. Let us work hand in hand to build a Nigeria where no one is left behind, where food is abundant, and where hope is renewed in every heart.
Beneficiaries expressed joy, saying the support would help expand their farming business and improve their income.
I want to appreciate Governor Hope Uzodimma and his wife. Let God Almighty bless them.
Urge the government to keep on organizing such programs to encourage youth
and encourage you farmers that there is hope for them.
I commend them, the management organizers, from the First Lady who made it to be a reality. I thank them.
The initiative is part of First Lady's broader vision to use agriculture as a tool for economic empowerment and national development. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
The Nigerian Navy says it has continued to maintain round-the-clock situational awareness of Nigeria's maritime domain, extending to the limits of the exclusive economic zone through the Maritime Domain Awareness Facilities. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, was represented by the Chief of Policy and Plans, Rear Admiral Ibrahim Diwu, stated that while addressing journalists on the forthcoming 69th anniversary of the service, Defense correspondent Kike Lomo Okere has details.
Navy Week is an annual event held to commemorate the establishment of the Nigerian Navy as part of the Armed Forces of Nigeria on June 1, 1956. The Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, who was represented by the Chief of Policy and Plans, Rear Admiral Ibrahim Diwu, explained that the Falcon Eye and Regional Maritime Awareness Capacity System have enabled early detection and swift response to incidents within Nigerian maritime environment.
This has ensured Nigeria maintained its zero piracy status in the International Maritime Bureau Piracy Rating. In furtherance to this, the Nigerian Navy has taken the initiative to ensure that the entire Gulf of Guinea is free of piracy and other maritime crimes.
It further reveals that in order to enhance the operational activities in the maritime domain, the service has taken delivery of 3 new patrol vessels and 3 newly acquired helicopters, which will be commissioned during the Navy Week. It further reveals that a total of 215 suspects and 26 vessels were arrested, while 468 illegal refining sites were deactivated in 2024. He added that an estimated quantity of 6.5 million liters of stolen crude oil and 7 million liters of illegal refined automated gas oil were seized and appropriately handled.
The new patrol vessels are NNS Shere, NNS Faro, and NNS Ikogosi. All 3 vessels are about 38 meters long with an endurance of 5 days. 2 of the vessels were acquired from Singapore and 1 from South Korea, and they all arrived in Nigeria in December 2024. These vessels will serve as seaward defense boats within Nigeria's littorals up to the 24 nautical miles contiguous zone.
The Navy Week celebration, which is expected to commence on the 23rd of May to June 1, 2025, will serve as an opportunity to present a scorecard of the Nigerian Navy's performance in the service of the nation. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
Shaudo Aku, a close associate of the notorious terrorist kingpin Bello Turji, has been confirmed killed in a targeted airstrike. The operation carried out by air component of Operation Fasinyama struck a terrorist hideout near Tumfa Primary School in Isa local government area of Sokoto State. The Nigerian Armed Forces confirmed that Auko, a key link in cross-border terrorist logistics, was killed alongside several fighters and suspected high-ranking commanders. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, says its officials have smashed a syndicate posing as free healthcare providers in the Abulomo axis of Port Harcourt, River State. The Director South-South Zone of NAFDAC, Chukuma Ologbo, disclosed this while briefing newsmen in Port Harcourt. Ologbo said the arrest followed a tip-off the agency received from some concerned citizens on the activities of the unscrupulous elements at the town hall in the area, leading to the raid last Friday. Women from Nasi, Kampam and Rido communities in Kaduna State have staged a protest at the Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemical Company over alleged chemical pollution that has reportedly affected their health, farmland and livelihoods. The protesters who gathered at the refinery as early as 6 a.m. accused the company of allegedly releasing a harmful chemical in August 2024, which they claim led to widespread illness, destruction of crops, and death of livestock. You are watching the live broadcast of AM News. When AM News returns, Tinubu approves the license for North Oil Project. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. In business now, President Bola Tinubu has granted regulatory approvals for the assurance of all critical license required for Kalamani Integrated Development Project, a multi-billion-dollar oil exploration initiative located between Bauchi and Gombe State. A statement issued by the Minister's Special Advisor on Media and Communication, Ineamaka Okafor, quoted Lakpobiri saying the approvals were part of efforts to ramp up oil production by activating all available hydrocarbon platforms across the country. The development was disclosed by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Senator Hanneke Lakpobiri during the flag-off ceremony for the construction of the permanent site of the Bauchi Oil and Gas Academy at Alkalari local government area. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Adun, has emphasized the critical role of capital market in achieving the nation's ambitious goal of becoming a $1 trillion economy. Speaking at the Capital Market Committee meeting, the minister highlighted the market's transformation since 2015. He said with improvements in governance structures, new products and platforms, a stronger regulatory environment and growing investor participation, the capital market is capable of delivering Nigerians' proposed $1 trillion economy. The Senate Committee on Power has raised concerns over the liquidity crisis bedeviling the power sector, lamenting that the tariff shortfalls in the industry have indicated that the government owes about 200 billion naira to electricity generating companies every month. Chairman of the committee, Senator Enenaya Abaribe, disclosed this while fielding questions from journalists from a retreat held in Ikot Ekpen, Akwa Ibom State. The committee disclosed that since this year, the government has not paid the power producers and that it has raised the debt to about 800 billion naira. The Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Yum Dong-ha, has emphasized the imperative of enhanced collaboration between China and Nigeria in unlocking the potential of Nigeria's solid minerals sector through the establishment of electric vehicle factories in Nigeria. Speaking while paying a courtesy visit to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, in his office, the Chinese ambassador Yu noted that China has always placed Nigeria in very pivotal position of her foreign policy. Sharon Ajay reports.
Recalling the recent high-level engagements between President Bola Tinubu and Xi Jinping during Tinubu's state visit to China, the Chinese ambassador Yu Donghai noted that both leaders agreed to elevate bilateral relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership, creating new opportunities for cooperation. The ambassador noted that the embassy and the Chinese government have always admonished Chinese companies operating in Nigeria to abide by rules and regulation, implement corporate social responsibility, and adhere to environmental and safety standards, stressing that the Chinese authorities have zero tolerance for illegal mining, signifying their readiness to work with Nigerian government to bring suspected corporates to justice.
Being several brands, because currently we have over 10 brands, Chinese electric vehicles.
Yes.
We would like to bring them to Nigeria to have them to produce locally, and then I would fully agree that we should have more added value like lithium, like all those minerals, because by doing this, China is going to have a stronger partner in Africa.
Yeah. The Minister of Solid Mineral, Dr. Dele Alake, acknowledged that most Chinese firms in Nigeria operate within legal and regulatory frameworks. He, however, expressed concerns over the actions of a few operators tarnishing Chinese image, referencing a recent viral video involving a Chinese national allegedly bribing local security agents. The minister also highlighted the impact of the mining machines established to combat illegal mining, affirming that the outfit that sent the right signal in the sector raised awareness about the menace and has consequently improved compliance to regulation by both local and foreign operators.
We have an upsurge in the production of electric vehicles here. It reduces our dependency on energy from fossil fuel.
Right.
So it will also make us compliant with global trend of transiting to green energy. So it also is a win-win situation for us. So we are encouraging all our Chinese operators in this sector to start the local value addition.
He reiterated that Nigeria is open for business to serious investors, stressing that investment in the nation's mining industry are now focused on local value addition. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
United States President Donald Trump says he will launch a major investigation into his 2024 election rival Kamala Harris over celebrities who back her failed run for the White House. Trump aimed at Beyonce, Wilfred, and Bruce Springsteen, accusing Harris of paying the legendary rock star to perform at a rally in Georgia weeks before the election. In the election race, Harris sought to harness star power from celebrities like Beyonce and Oprah Winfrey. Winfrey defended a $1 million payment to her production company from Harris' campaign to cover costs associated with talk show legend hosting the presidential candidate. Israel says it is letting trucks of baby food and other essential items into Gaza Strip. The first aid to be admitted since the Israeli government announced the partial lifting of a 2-month blockade. Uyi Agbomofuegbe has the rest of the report.
Israel, pressing a newly expanded military offensive across the Gaza Strip, has faced mounting pressure, including from key backer, the United States, to end the aid blockade imposed on March 2nd. However, Foreign Ministry Director General Eden Bartal says that is changing.
The fund will distribute the aid in several distribution centers located in safe areas in Gaza. The IDF will not take part of the distribution. The IDF will secure the perimeter. The distribution sites should be operating in a matter of days.
Listed some of the essential items scheduled for tracking into Gaza Strip.
Israel is now allowing the supply of such items to the population. This will continue until the beginning of the operation of the new fund, a matter of days.
United Nations agencies have warned of critical shortages of food, clean water, fuel, and medicines in the besieged territory. Uyi Agbomofuegbe reporting for Global Television News.
On our sports story now, Nigeria secured a hard-fought bronze medal at the 2025 Under-20 African Cup of Nations, overcoming the host nation Egypt 4-1 on penalties following a 1-1 draw in regulation time at the 30th June Stadium in Cairo. It was a match filled with intensity as both sides sought redemption after falling short of the final. Nigeria, now with the 5 third-place finishes in Under-20 AFCON history, showed composure in a tense shootout to earn their 14th podium finish in the competition. France Football has officially announced that the 69th edition of the Ballon d'Or ceremony will take place on September 22, 2025. The prestigious event, which honors the world's best football players, will be held at the Théâtre de Chartres in Paris. The ceremony is expected to draw global attention, featuring top footballers, dignitaries, and fans. Spanish La Liga giants Real Madrid currently top UEFA's coefficients rankings. In the latest ranking released by UEFA through their website, Real Madrid are ahead of Manchester United and Bayern Munich, who are in top 3 positions. Chelsea, Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, and Manchester United have moved up compared to the previous ranking. As we end the Global TV AM News, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, has expressed serious concern over the technical failures that affected the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, warning it threatens trust in Nigeria's education system. In business, we brought to you that the Minister of Finance, Wale Adun, has emphasized the crucial role of the capital market in achieving the nation's ambitious goal of becoming a $1 trillion economy. And on the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump says he will launch a major investigation into his 2024 election rival Kamala Harris over celebrities who backed her failed run for the White House. And finally, in sports, Nigeria secured a hard-fought bronze medal at the 2025 Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, overcoming the host nation Egypt 4-1 and penalties following a 1-1 draw in regulation time at the 30th June Stadium in Cairo. Now that's it on Global AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channels 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen by using @Global TV NG. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Global Morning continues in a bit. Stay tuned.
Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to global television.
All right, been a long time coming, they say. Some years ago, we had the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, which is, of course, a region-specific initiative, if you like. I mean, a commission to help answer some of the questions that were being asked around the Niger Delta region at the time. Of course, as is always the case with many of public institutions in this country, the NDDC had seen maybe a little more than its fair share of controversies as well, whether it was contract awards or the overall management of that institution. Today, we now have something that is, well, you can relatively call a proliferation of regional development commissions. And one of them is the North Central Development Commission. And as it is the case with many of these commissions, appointment is always a very vital factor. Who gets into what position, who are members of the board, who will be the MD chief executive, where are they from, what's their background, on what basis were they selected, and several other concerns. However, overall, the real issue that should agitate the minds of members of the public, especially those individuals whom this commission is established to serve, should be how it adds value to their life and the difference it makes for the better. In the case of the North Central Development Commission, there have been concerns about the politics and politicking around appointments and the issues of inhabitants, for example, of the FCT. What is their place? Are they getting their fair share or their piece of the cake? And several other concerns. We want to delve into that conversation for you this morning. And my guest is Comrade Abdul Wahab Ekekide. He's the coordinator, a coalition of patriotic Democrats, Federal Capital Territory chapter. Comrade Ekekide, I'll say a big thank you to you for coming to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Great. So let's begin with the, I like to call it the NCDC now, the North Central Development Commission. What exactly are the concerns? Because one would have thought by now the board membership has been inaugurated and action is already taking place.
Just recently, the president passed, in fact, assented to the bill establishing the North Central, South-South, and the Southwest Development Commission.
Right.
As it is now, all the geopolitical zones now have a development commission. Like you said in your preamble, it is the Niger Delta Development Commission that was the first in the history of this country. And so every region begins to agitate. You have the Northeast Development Commission. Now you now have them across the 6 geopolitical zones. So FCT is part of the North Central geopolitical zone of Nigeria. And these names have actually been penciled down, nominated to be members, chairman, MD, executive directors, and members of the board. The challenge is that the FCT in the whole arrangement has been just changed. As we speak, if you permit me to read the preamble of the Act.
That's okay, right.
Now, if you look at the Act, you will see that the people that drafted this Act, they were very intentional. They were intentional, they knew what they were doing, and they were specific. There was no ambiguity. If you look at it, you see that... sorry. What's happening?
I think we need to look at the Act, at least let's be guided
yes.
as to what
the
provisions
Act. Now, if you look at the Act, let's even go to the preambles.
Right.
It said, an Act to establish the North Central Development Commission. North Central Development Commission. Something is wrong, sorry.
I know you're trying to read word for word.
Yes, I want to read word for word so that it won't be as if I'm trying to add or subtract. I want to quote the Act so that people will see what the Act says. It is not Comrade Abdulwahab that wrote it, or the FCT people that wrote the art. The art was very, people that they were very intentional, like I said. They said, an act for the establishment of the North Central Development Commission charged with its responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of communal crisis. Let's leave that. Now, part 1 of that act states, part 1 says the establishment of sorry, this thing is just scattering in my hands. Now, part 1 of that act says establishment of the North Central Development Commission and the governing board. And it stated there, Section 1 of it says, there is established the North Central Development Commission.
I'm just going to have to bump in on you for a second because we need to take a break. But we've got to go back to that act so we understand exactly what the specific provisions are. That way we are better guided on this conversation. We're back shortly. Everyone, to stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. So let's take it off from where we left off a while ago. You were reading the ads.
Yes.
Maybe we can just quickly round that off.
Yes. Now, like I said, they were very said. Part one of that establishment said this. It said that there is established the North Central Development Commission in this act, referred to as the commission. Now, the commission shall be a body corporate with perpetual succession and a common seal. I may be sued or be sued in his corporate name. Now, it moves further. Let me jump to subsection 1. See, there is established for the commission a governing board in this act, referred to as the board, which shall consist of 1, the chairman, 1 person who shall be an indigene, underline, 1 person who shall be an indigene to represent the member state, and they listed the states in alphabetical order: Benue, FCT, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, and Plateau State. And they went further to say 1 person each to represent the following security organization. That's for that. Now, they came here to say that, they have a chairman, they have a managing director, they have executive directors. Now, what the contention here is that Benue State is the chairman of the board. Because even in the act, it stated that the chairman of the board shall rotate for 4 years, and it shall rotate among the states in alphabetical order, which means the next chairman of the board will come from FCT after Benue. Now, Benue already have the chairman. They also have an executive director. They equally have a member. Now, the person who was also choosing to now represent FCT is from Benue State. You understand? So it means that on the board, Benue have 4 members, and the FCT is completely out.
So you think that's not fair enough, and you think that's more, I mean that's lopsided?
Very lopsided. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, that's total exclusion. Because if you say the states that make up the North Central are 7, and in alphabetical order, Benue, FCT, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, and Plateau State. Now, you now take, and all these others, they have representation. And the act is very specific. He said, an indigene.
Must be an indigene.
He said, an indigene. He didn't say, he said, I underlined it, he said, an indigene. To represent each state. An indigene. So the person that is nominated now to represent the FCT is not an indigene of FCT.
You said the person is from Benue State?
It's from Benue State.
Could that be an oversight, or was it a deliberate move?
No, you see,
what you understand?
The challenge is that politically, the FCT is marginalized. And if you look at even the setup of the political and administrative structure of the FCT, you know that FCT has been so marginalized, even in appointment. If you check even the FCTA today, if you check the mandate secretary who are supposed to be like commissioners, you realize that they pick them from states outside FCT. They will say the FCT cabinet must also reflect the geopolitical zones. We don't have any quarrel with that. But the quarrel we have is that how do you give a people that are from a particular locality, and they have people who are also settlers, who have lived with them, they work with them, they do everything with them. But when you want to select people who represent the government, you go outside of the federal capital territory and go and pick somebody. For instance, we have told them, if you need a Sokoto man who resides here, who do business here, who play politics here, we have them here. Whether you need a professor, a doctor, or whatever, they are all here. Now, if you need a South man who plays politics here and does everything, they are also here. So even if you want to go to use geopolitical zone, we have those who have played politics here, who live here, that you can pick from, rather than go and bring a stranger. And the danger is that once it is national election, like presidential election and national assembly election, all of them pack their bags and baggages and go back to their various states to go and deliver their state for Mr. President. But meanwhile, they now leave the FCT bare. Nobody is here, no resources to use, and that is why you see that continuously the ruling party always lose FCT, because the people who are empowered are not those who can also trickle down the empowerment to the people of FCT. And so it has been that the FCT has been marginalized. They have been denied the dividend of democracy, because their people, their sons and daughters, and those who reside here are not always empowered politically to be able to empower the grassroots. And so the bulk of work is left at the hands of the local government chairman, area councils, and it is too much for them to carry. You understand? As I speak to you, in the FCT cabinet today, you only have 2 people who are indigenous FCT as mandate secretaries, or you can call them commissioners. Just 2. The commissioner for Agric and the commissioner for the mandate secretary Agric and mandate secretary area council services. Those are the 2 you can say they are indigenous people who are part of that cabinet.
Are the indigenes making any efforts? Are they making their voice, heard enough in terms of drawing attention to these marginalization that you talked about?
Yes, the indigenes, I must be frank with you, they have been trying their best. But look at where they should draw their strength is their representation at the National Assembly.
Right.
Now, if you look at that again, you realize how marginalized they are. They have just 1 senator. You realize that Bayelsa State have just how many local government? 8. And they have 3 senators. Now, FCT just have 1 senator and 2 House of Rep members. Amongst 360, you have just 2. And amongst 109 senators, you have just 1. So the ability to even lobby is so enormous, because just you alone that is going to do the work in the Senate, and it's just 2 of you that is going to do the work in the House of Rep. So you find out that it is difficult for them, because they are very few in number. You understand? And most of the people they even want to go and lobby are the people who are beneficiaries of the Federal Capital Territory. So they don't even want to let go. So these are the issues. So FCT is too marginalized politically and administratively.
It looks as if some of these issues you have raised will have to, they require constitutional amendments to address them. So they are not just issues you can tackle by maybe holding up placards on the street and getting involved in peaceful demonstrations. Some of them are constitutional, right?
Yes, I can tell you that the FCT people, the indigenous people, and even the residents, we are together, working together to even work with the National Assembly in areas of constitutional amendment. If you listen very well, recently they have passed the bill to establish the House of Assembly for the FCT has passed second reading, and it is being followed up. Now, I tell you, before this time, that FCT don't used to have a representation at the Federal Executive Council. But Mr. President, and that is why the FCT people will ever remain grateful to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he broke the age-long jinx of appointing an indigenous person as a minister of the Federal Republic. Today,
so how was it now? That
has never happened. Now we have the Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Right Honorable Zephaniah Bitrus Gisalo, MFR, is an indigenous person from the FCT. Is now a federal cabinet member. This is the first time in the history of this country that this has happened. So we are grateful. We are saying thank you, Mr. President, for breaking that age-long jinx. But a lot still needs to be done, because even states that have ministers, some even have to, they still have other positions in government. Some of them are still executive directors, some are DGs of different parastatals. So FCT shouldn't be denied that fact. And the FCT indigenous people are not saying, no, it must be all indigenous people. No, that's not what they are saying. If people who we know, they are here, they are working for us, they work here, they also work with us politically and otherwise, are even appointed, we will have a challenge. But we are saying that people who are not doing anything here, people you just sit there and go and bring somebody from Edo State now, somebody who resides in Benin, just bring him here and say, come and be commissioner. Whereas there are Edo people who are here who play politics here. There are Sokoto people, Kano people, Jigawa people, all across the. In fact, FCT is a mini Nigeria. You understand? And you know that the president is the governor general of the FCT. And as the governor general, he only delegates its authority to a minister. And today, for the first time, the president also broke that jinx. For the first time in the history of the Federal Capital Territory, a South man was appointed as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Before now, what we have had closest is Minister of State. But today, a full-fledged minister is appointed from the South. It has never happened. This is the first time. I will say thank you to Mr. President. And this has also gone a long way because it has proven that sometimes those you want to marginalize or ignore have capacity to do better. And today, the evidences are clear of the works the Honorable Minister of FCT is doing. He has drafted all other ministers in terms of infrastructural development. And you can see it is not something that is hidden. You know, it's one minister that I see that is the only one, as far as I'm concerned, that is promoting the Mr. President's agenda. You know, because everywhere you go, you see his footprints. He has tried and he's trying and he's still doing more. And he has promised that May 29, a lot of projects are going to be commissioned, even in the FCT. And we are seeing them. So we must say kudos. Thank you, Mr. President. Continue, carry the FCT along. But, you know, when there is abnormality, when something is done, it could be in error. Maybe they are not also aware. It could be in error. And because we are not the drafters of the act, so it can be an error that can be amended. That is why we are talking now before the inauguration, so that they know what to do. There are so many appointments they can give to that young man.
So you think it still can be corrected?
Of course, yes. Of course. It happened just recently when they also nominated the former deputy governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Edward Onoja, as the federal commissioner representing the Public Complaints Commission, FCT. And we rose up. I said, no, this is unacceptable. We have it. In fact, the person that was leaving was an FCT indigenous. Why not bring somebody from FCT and put? And of course, that was corrected. Today we have Honorable Musa Diko, former chairman of Buhari Area Council, as the federal commissioner, PCC, FCT. So it can be changed. It's just a nomenclature. They can just remove the name and put, and then find another appointment for the young man. The young man is also a friend who was appointed. I know him. It's not. It's what, if you are given an appointment, of course you should rejoice. Right. It's not that he went and say you must give me this appointment. No, they only found him worthy and say take appointment. But of course, that appointment they have given him is misplaced because he's not supposed to be the one occupying that position.
I want to ask you something real quick. I mean, you have credited President President Tinubu with the appointment of course, breaking the jinx of bringing a South man in the person of former River State Governor Wike to be Minister of the FCT. You also credited him with being the one who broke the jinx of appointing Josalu as a federal minister now, who is in the cabinet of this present administration under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu.
Yes.
What more do you think the president can do in this regard to push the efforts, or if you like, advance the efforts to address this lopsidedness in the way the indigenous people and long-time settlers in the FCT are given opportunities to serve in public?
I think one of the first things I would advise Mr. President to do is to send an executive bill to the National Assembly to amend that section. Section 299, I guess, I can't, let me...
Or the 1999
the
Constitution.
1999 Constitution that says that FCT should be treated as if it were a state.
Do you think that's wrong?
It's wrong. When you say something should be treated as if it were, it means that it's not.
So we have to be categorical.
Yeah, we have to be categorical that the FCT is one of the states of the Federation. So that is the first amendment we need to do. Once that is done, and FCT is now recognized as a state, it means that all the democratic structures of a democratic state will now be in the FCT. We'll have the FCT State House of Assembly. We'll have to elect a governor.
As against appointing a minister.
As against appointing a minister. We'll now elect a governor. You can call him any nomenclature. It doesn't matter. But somebody that should be, it can be a mayor, but must be elected. It can be whatever name you seem to give. You can still call him if you like. Say, let him remain minister, but elected. You understand? Nomenclature does not matter. But we need to have elected people who are governing the FCT, so that the FCT, the political space will be open. As I speak to you, the political space for FCT is so strict that you can only be aspire to be a councillor. After councillor, you go to chairman. After chairman, you now have to struggle for the two positions of House of Rep and one position for Senate. And you see, if you check this, all the 6 area council chairmen, as they are leaving, the next agenda is either they want to go to Senate or they want to go to House of Reps. And you see, that contest causes a lot because it is too big to have just one senator. FCT is qualified to have 3 senatorial districts and even more like ×2 of the local government we have now. Let us have about 12 local government. So that because Amak is big enough to be 3 local government in some states. Gwagwalada is big enough to be 3 local government in some states. So when you break these things down, you realize that FCT is just shrink. They need to open up the political space for FCT so that the people can grow politically. And that is why you see the highest office an FCT indigenous person or a resident can hold is senator, elected senator. So, and that is not good enough. And before now, we don't used to have even FCT be appointed as maybe DGs or executive secretaries of different parastatals. You know, they just, once they just give you that, you are a senator and that's all. So this political space needs to be opened up. And let me tell you, in 2013, 2014, 15, there was this man. It's late now. My late boss, late Comrade Emma Ezeazu, the founder of Alliance for Credible Elections. It's late. He was the one that took the issues of the original inhabitants on his head. They founded Original Inhabitant Development Association, OIDA, and he was solely the one funding that process. He took them to national day. He even went to the UN. And that is why the voices of the indigenous people are now being heard. We are saying, I'm from Edo State. There are things I would not ordinarily want to be done to me as an indigenous of Edo State that I will not take. But a lot of those are being done to the FCT people, which is not correct and it is not right. And these people are not saying, oh, he must be only IDG. They are saying that people like you who have been with us, who are working with us, even when they give you appointment, we know that because we can trace you to your political ward, we can trace you to your followership, you can, you know, because I am also, as I sit here, I'm also the chairman of the APC South Forum in the FCT. So I have followers. So they say, okay, this kind of people, if you give them, we can also say, okay, at least we know them. They work with us. You know, but not just to go and bring a stranger because he just came and is in the FCT, because FCT is a place for all. You now come, you now give an appointment that is designated in the act for an indigene. That will be like robbing Peter to pay Paul. And we say it is not correct. It is not fair. It is injustice. And it is now beyond marginalization, it's complete exclusion. So when they are seated on the executive table to discuss issues of the zone, there is no FCT indigenous person who will be seated on the board.
To also advance the interests of the FCT.
That is not correct.
I understand that you are aspiring to be chairman of AMAC.
Yes.
We're wishing you all the best with that. But I want to put you in the spotlight as we wrap up now.
Yes.
Senator Ireti Kingimbe has been there for, I mean, that will be 2 years by 29th of May, just a few days away. How would you rate her, if you like, impact at that level?
Well, I don't want to be personal, but I must tell you that the environment she found herself is very difficult.
Why is that? Is it because of the gender factor or the peculiarity of the FCT itself?
Well, first, the gender factor. You know, the gender factor, there are very few. There are just about 4 in the Senate, women. Now, the gender factor is one. And secondly, the way the FCT is perceived. The FCT is so perceived that everybody thinks we are the owner. FCT is like a place that does not belongs to everybody and belongs to nobody. So people ordinarily will say, look at the constitution, says FCT is, you know, federal capital, everybody belongs here. That is the challenge. You understand? So those are the, and then she's having issues even with the minister. You understand? So, and I think that she should play more of the politics. She should play less of politics and be diplomatic in some of the things she does. You know,
especially across party lines.
Yes, across party lines. Because, you know, now, you know, FCT is even in a peculiar situation. The president is, who is the governor general, is APC. The minister who is a delegated authority from the president is PDP. Now, the senator is Labour. The AMAC Buhari Federal Constituency representative is Labour. The only APC representative is the one representing Abuja South, Gwagwalada, Kuje, Kwali, and Abaji. That is the only APC. So you see that the whole place is like they are not working in unison. because of maybe differences in parties and whatever. Right. But when you get elected, I think the barriers of party line should be broken. Because the most important is the dividends that you give to your people. Right. And she should give more access for people to access her. Because the complaints I hear everywhere is that she's not accessible. And that is not also applicable to the member of the House of Rep, Ahmad Buhari, who is also from Labour. They say that one is very accessible. I can access him myself. I can call him and he will pick my call and we'll talk. So she should open up her doors and work more with the people of the FCT so that she can achieve. Otherwise, all these bottlenecks is because of maybe her posture. She's a woman and a well-respected woman for that matter. And I think she can do more. Let her engage more. Let her lobby more so that the dividends of democracy will trickle down to the people she represents.
All right, great. I think that's a brilliant place to leave it. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Comrade Abdul Wahab Gekide, who is the APC South-South Forum Chairman, the FCT here, for coming to shed light on all of these issues around the North Central Development Commission, the appointments, which he says are essentially lopsided. However, he also stated that he believes before the inauguration, a lot can be done to correct this anomaly so that the FCT will not be in any way marginalized. We're taking a quick break now. When we return shortly, we'll turn to our second conversation, which will take us somewhere down the south to look at what development is like down there in Edo State. Let's take it to Edo State now, and we want to look at the governance of that state. It's been 6 months since Senator Monday Okpebholo took the reins as the elected governor of the state. Some people say, well, 6 months is not essentially enough time to, as they say, quote unquote, call results. Others say it's also enough time, essentially, to look at how far the government has come. At least if you can talk about 100 days in office, why can't we also do a 6-month assessment of the government? But the question is, what are the key performance indicators, the KPIs, for looking at this question? That there are issues around the economy, for example. There are issues around infrastructure. There are concerns, first and foremost, again, around insecurity. If you have followed the news the last couple of weeks, it's not very pleasant, the kind of stories coming out of the state in terms of court clash and the killings emanating therefrom. However, the governor is called the chief security officer of the state. Again, the governors have argued over time that, look, that appellation is only nominal because they do not have latitude over security apparatus on any level in this country. Joining us to help navigate this conversation this morning is a member of the People's Democratic Party, which is the leading opposition party in the state. By the way, he has also been the chairman, the executive chairman, that is, of your Southwest local government area in that state, Honorable Destiny Inabolili. Thank you for coming by the studio this morning.
My brother, nice meeting you again.
The pleasure is all mine.
It's good to be here.
Right.
Thank you very much.
So I want us to begin this conversation with not just the election, but let's look at governance now, because your matter is in court, apparently. I mean, basically your party and the APC on the one hand, and then, of course, Dr. Asuelu Ighodalo and Senator Monday Okpebholo on the other hand. But I want us to look at the last 6 months, because by 12th of this month, it was already 6 months since Senator Okpebholo took over as governor of the state. When I talk to PDP members, I keep hearing things like the governor has destroyed all of the things that Mr. Obaseki had done within the last 8 years while he was in government. Talk to us about your sentiments.
I mean, as my usual ritual, I appreciate Global TV for this opportunity again, at least to contribute.
Right.
To the political evolution and governance in Edo State and Nigeria in general. You see, I must be very frank. For me, I find it difficult to situate what is happening in Edo State very just now. Because what you have, I think some writers and some political watchers, they have referred to it as a soap opera kind of governance. You know, it's melodramatic. I don't know if you are getting me. That's what we have in Edo State.
Why is that?
I will tell you for free. You must have seen some jamborees. Left, right, center, trying to... Those are not the projects of your district government. At any rate, let me quickly say this. For me, I don't see anything good coming out from this present administration in Edo State.
Because you're a member of the opposition?
No, not because I'm a member. I'm from the civil society. For any government that is willing to affect the people, to the grassroots, must first of all engage the people.
Right.
You are aware, you are a journalist. 6 months running, or the seventh month now. I don't know if you can pinpoint, if you can tell me as a journalist, where he has called the people to have a stakeholders interface. Whether in the senatorial, across the three senatorials, or in the state to say, okay, here I am. For me, I don't even believe in his governance. Not because, as we speak very just now, I still refer to him as the INEC governor, with utmost humility. And you and I know what played out. To be very sincere, in the election of Edo State, September 2023, you and I know 2024. So you and I know what played out. For me, I not because I don't see you don't have the capacity to be able to wrestle, to start from where his predecessor stopped. And besides, he has again, jettisoned, abandoned what he met on ground. Today, some of us will give it to Lagos State, not because they are spirits or they are too fantastic, because over time it has been a thing of succession. This present president of this country laid the foundation that has presently taken Lagos State to where we have it as we speak very just now. But what this present one, when he assumed office with utmost humility, he abandoned because he believes that he cannot tinker in the same line with his predecessor. We must give it to Obaseki in terms of administration. But fantastic. He did incredibly well. At a point, it was almost gone, the issue of taking Edo to a paperless governance. But as we speak very just now, you must have seen some of the governor's table. You see, pile of files in this day and time. I remember a time when I visited Germany. I visited one of the local government, as we have here.
Like a county.
Exactly. It was a seamless running. I stayed with him it was in the area of Stuttgart, for quite about 3 to 2 hours. We've gone past the era of, moving files from one office to the other. At least you experience, or perhaps you followed Obaseki while he was in the office. You saw his style of governance. I'm not saying that it was perfect with him. No. He has his own side, he has his own flaws, but at a point he took Edo to a level where you will say, okay, from there take it to another level. But with this present one, he has taken us backward. Permit me into the era before the 1999.
But let's set a bit of a context. I can remember in 2021, Obaseki had come up with his 30-year plan, 30-year development plan. There were people who said, look, this man is disconnected from reality, because they said Obaseki was having a conversation that Edo people could not relate with, that he should have had plans that within shorter term frames and all of that. Is it not possible that Mr. Okpebholo is now realigning himself with the people and realities on the ground better than Obaseki did?
When you say that Okpebholo is realigning himself, can I have anything to do with you without meeting you?
So you're concerned that he has not had?
There's never been a time he has. You see, it's not in the abstract. It's not in the spiritual world that you interface with the people. You must constitute a meeting that you interface with the people. You feel the pulse of the people. Then you want to come up and generate what your plans should be and how you be able to how you want to tackle it. You can't do something on nothing. We've gone past this. Even in the Western world, the developed world, there's always at interval. They interface. They feel the pulse of the people. At times they go to the streets to feel the people. Not you giving some contact to some consultants. They'll go and get you some classroom ideas. No. At this present time in this country, we must be practical in addressing this issue. You can see what is happening in the area of security across board. And those states are left out. Before now, those states ought to be one of the safest, if not the safest state in this country.
But we hear that the governor has declared war on cultism, for example, which in recent times has become a source of security concerns. I mean, what more could he have done, for example, beyond what he's currently pursuing?
I started by saying it's a soap opera kind of governance. It's melodramatic. I want to be very frank. See what he has. You must have heard that at the time he marked Honorable Matthew with the hotel for demolition. The Eternal Hotel for demolition. Even when the Francis Inegbeneki Hotel for demolition. But as we speak very just now, the Inegbeneki has aligned with the Okpeolo's thinking by way of abandoning PDP. So that's a topic for another day. You see, this is exactly what is happening in the center, where you see gain of defection from the major political parties. The president will say, or the presidency, as they will say, we open the book and say, boy, look at, if not you, but what is what your God, your predecessor has done, who brought you, so you must align. You saw what happened in Delta State, across board. So it's two things. What they are defecting is what Okpebholo is trying to initiate. That's okay. We will just look the perceived enemy with some followers. Okay, let's negotiate. One time, Oshomole, January 2019, if I'm not mistaken, when he was still the national chairman of the APC, he said, if you were a sinner, once you cross to APC, your sins are forgiven. It is in Punch newspaper, not the physical Punch, but the Punch newspaper. So that's where we find ourselves. So if you mark your house in Edo, if you decide to tinker or think the same way with him, you are no longer you are becoming a saint.
You are insinuating that what Okpebholo is doing, it's basically not fighting cultism, is leveraging it for political gains.
Definitely, there's no doubt about that. That is the purpose. That is the intent. That is the intent of that mission. I must be very frank. I'm not saying that there are no cultism or cult-related activities in those things. I'm not saying that. But you must give it a human thinking. You must allow it to pass a process. You must take it. See, the court must interpret. You don't just say, yes, a certain person committed XYZ offense by way related to cult-related activities. You marked my house, for instance, for demolition, without a fair hearing. Are you not the judge? Cannot be a judge in your own case. That's exactly what is happening. And there are people they started crying out. I think there was a protest yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, that they have hijacked the process for a political gain. Civil society, there was a protest yesterday. That's the point. I'm not saying, but you must give it a human face without any political inclination. That's the point. So our problem in this country is because we play politics. That's why you see the issue of insecurity in this country, as we speak very just now. I don't know if you can recall, there was a time when this issue of kidnapping was just evolving. I made a very sweet comment that time. That if not nip on the board, if you decide to play politics with it, what 10 years to come, and that's exactly what we are saying. I'm not the prophet of doom. I tell you, if they don't retrace their step politically, what is ahead? Just a child's play.
So are you saying by any means that 7th month into its government, we cannot, for example, put a finger on any achievements, whether it's infrastructure related, the economy, social development, or whatever it is? Credit Okpebholo for that.
You see, let me quickly say this. Even some of the schools renovations at the time that they were being celebrated, perhaps you must have heard from the New Black movement that it was their own projects.
So it was not a government-funded.
It was not a government-funded project. I watched it in Arise TV, one of the sister stations. So for me, I think that's the only thing that's okay. But for I don't see the only thing that I have seen as a person, and a majority of the Edo citizens that reside there, we have seen perhaps is the purchase, of Ilos and Prado for commissioners, and some of them they likely that Obaseki left some reasonable amount of money in the district coffer. We just give it to Obaseki continually. Which some of them have said is the nest of king. When the issue of the nest of king. When a man is wealthy and you have a nest of king, when a nest of king sit on that chair, it's squander the wealth that the father or the mother has over the years accumulated. without even looking back. That's exactly what is happening in Edo State. He's buying fleece of, today if you go to government house, you can't even see the Hilosys and the Prado that they bought. They bought over hundreds. So that is it. It's a spending spree for this present administration in Edo State. And they are not even bothered about whether to take Edo developmentally to the next level. I think they started campaigning for, with utmost humility, to the president. They set up youth wing of the campaign for 2027. When we are still in 2025, we still have 2026. Nobody can see you can't play God. You will be here this minute. The other minute you might not be there. It's 2027. You've already started.
But your party, the PDP, is also having the 2027 conversation. So
no, what we are having
is that not being hypocritical?
No. That of the PDP is quite different from when you are in government, when you are a shadow of leadership. To what PDP is doing because of the internal wrangling and crisis. So what we are trying to do is to see how we settle our house. It's different from
ahead of time.
Yes. Not they have said to them that they don't have any crisis. Have you seen or heard that PDP they've constituted campaign for 2027 or the youth wing or the women wing? No. What they are doing, they are networking to how to settle the issue first. Because my grandmother will say, "Ewoma, ebona waya." There's no way you will do anything meaningful in an atmosphere of rancor.
Right.
That's the literal meaning. So for us, as a PDP, we must put our house in order to be able to fight this monster in the center. I know you will not agree with me, but that is the gospel truth.
Let's go back to Edo State now, because it will appear your party, the PDP, in a manner of speaking, is bleeding. For example, the speakership of the House of Assembly has been very controversial. Honorable, or I should say Right Honorable Blessing Agbebeku, the Speaker of the House, who was a vehement, outspoken, staunch, almost unrepentant supporter of your party and your candidates in the election, talking about Dr. Asuelu Ighodalo, seems to have, if you like, switched camps now. And that's, again, bothers many of your party members, because I see them talking about all of this across social media platforms. That's number one. Number two is we're seeing a gale of defection, even within the House of Assembly in our states. I'm asking that question because as the leading opposition party, you have a very critical role to play in helping to galvanize the leadership in those states. So how's that coming?
You see, I don't know if you are aware. I spent 6 months in the House of Assembly before I was removed by the court, by the tribunal.
Right.
The persons that you've mentioned, about 23 of them, if not the whole, even the man that came by, they are all my friends. Even the speaker, I will say without any missing words, that when I was in the House, I should be among, maybe among the first 3, in terms of closeness. At least to some extent, he listened to me. You see, what happened there, one, and perhaps you must have seen his press release. I said it even before he made the press release in one of the sister stations. One is to get the full benefits of that office. You can't, that is another, see, politics is very, very complex. And he believed that if he stays back, you saw what happened yesterday. The deputy speaker resigned.
Right. And he talked about integrity.
Fantastic woman. I moved the motion that nominated her as the deputy speaker. Fantastic woman. In all ramification. She's a fantastic woman in all ramification. A teacher, a wife, a mother, and above all, a very, true representative of the people. Fantastic woman. He has resigned. But what you have seen, and you are aware, prior to this time, before this time, that the speaker at the time, at the early stage of this nascent democracy, was in the House. Perhaps the youngest then. You know what happened to him? That he was suspended after about a year or 2, till the end of the tenure. Perhaps he has taken a leap from that time and tried to look at it and look at the future. For me, I've told whoever cares to listen.
I guess that was in the days when you had Shaibu
Zakaru Garuba.
Yes, who was the speaker.
Was the speaker then. Yeah. For me, I have told whoever cares to listen. I will not fault him. They said once beaten, twice shy. I will not fault him. He has his own. So for him to enable take the dividends of democracy to his constituency, he must think and align. You know, Nigerian politics, if you are not there, they play politics. Even if not that God give us air, they would have played politics with the air breathing. To say, okay, if you refuse, we'll take it from you. We are so barbaric as that. So for us, I've told you I don't fault him. But for the others, I have my reservations.
What are reservations?
It's not because they are my friends.
Are you disappointed?
Seriously. Because the persons that you have seen that have worked in for that 6 months, they are no lesser guys. They are young fellow. They are not lesser guys. In their own rights, they control some liquid. So I expect them to call a spade. But
they say money is never enough.
That is greed. If you allow your greed to not dictate to you your sense of reasoning, then it's no longer enough. It's no longer enough. For me, greed has never been part of me at all. I say it the way it is. The way it is. No matter what is God. Because what is good for the goose is only good for the gander. So for me, I respect them. And I respect their judgments and I respect their decisions. But they must believe that there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. I grew up with my grandmother when I lost my father. So she taught me many things. The issue of integrity. The issue of, try to be sincere. The issue of friendship. I believe in friendship. When I'm your friend, I hardly. Well, that's why when I belong to a movement, to the end, I will not look back. That's why when I put my hand in the plow, no looking back.
Would you say, I hope you are dispassionate about this, your response. Would you say the PDP is still a formidable force in Edo State in terms of helping to checkmate the government of Senator Monday Okpebholo?
With utmost humility, it's still a formidable force. Not only in Edo State, across the length and breadth of this country. And I want to appeal to Nigerians. If we want to sustain this democracy, we must give the oxygen to PDP.
Who unplugged it in the first instance?
No, with the gale of defections. I've read one of the write-ups on that their aim is to take the oxygen. Their aim is to take. I said it earlier. It was take. I read it from one of the articles. It's to take the oxygen from PDP. That's why now I'm now appealing to the average. See, the coming election is not about the bourgeois or the elites. It's about the people. You saw what happened in 2023. I've said it on another platform. Our miscalculation is having, with utmost humility, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu as the president of this country. That is the man. I followed him up when he was in governor of Lagos State. I saw some of his programs. I think I did a write up that time. It's a man that I admire. But there is a point that you need to draw the line. You can see what we have in this country. This country is not moving forward. There are certain things that you don't play politics with. You don't give positions to your cronies. At this point, we have to bring everybody on board to enable us leave this present, political and economic and security quagmire to that level. What we have now, tell me one fantastic person with utmost humility. I have not seen any.
In terms of cabinet members?
Exactly. Like what we have during Jonathan, Gozuwela, Africa Development Bank, yes, and the likes. We saw some persons. There are brilliant, intelligent Nigerians outside the shores of this country.
So, are you saying you do not, by any standard or measurement, appreciate the efforts of someone like the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, for example?
That's I'm one.
Aerospace development.
That is
Professor
Skiamu. That's those two fantastic guys. You can see because you know them with again, age has
so it is a factor.
It's a factor. At times I will read to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., even this morning. But if you are aged, there's a limit you can go. there's a law of diminishing return. It will definitely set in. You can't buy that with money.
The APC has referred to your party, the PDP, as a dead political party that has refused to be buried.
You see, yes. I said it just now.
Mm.
I said I appeal to Nigerians that if they want to sustain this democracy and save Nigerians and Nigeria from one party system, they must give oxygen to PDP. I said it. They might not be far from truth. I'm going to be very frank. I'm not political here. I try to say it the way it is. They might not be because of the internal wrangling in the party. They might not be far from the truth. But Nigerians, in reviving the PDP, Nigerians will give oxygen back to PDP.
There are people who say that, I mean, to use your words, metaphorically, that oxygen mask is with the likes of Wike and Atiku Abubakar. So how then do you start looking for it elsewhere?
See, PDP is bigger than any party. PDP is the only true national political party. You can take that to the bank. I want to take you to, NCNC and Action Group. PDP is not a regional. One of the factors that militated against Action Group then, it was a regional party. I'm a student of history. You know what followed.
Right.
So for us, the only true national party is PDP. It's not a one-man show. That's why you see the rise of, with utmost humility, the present FCT minister can call a bluff. You see, Atiku can have a, but just take a look at the present party in power. If the man says this and it's final, you saw the gang up against Jonathan with the likes of Amechi, Lamido, and the likes. The rest is history. They were able to wrestle because it was a national party. It's not as porous, as disjointed as we have in APC. So for us, I'm appealing. Any opportunities for me to appeal to Nigerians to give oxygen back to PDP, because that is the only true national party where the people have a say and have a voice.
We started from Edo State, so let's go wrap it up there.
Yeah, that's my beautiful state.
As it stands today, do you think, I mean, as currently constituted, do you think the PDP, I mean, I should say, the House of Assembly in that state is strong enough, is wired for, I mean, flogging the government of the day to line, I mean, for want of better words?
Well, you see, we want to be very frank. I try to when it concerns the House of Assembly, as we have the eighth assembly, as we have it very just now.
Right.
I try to restrain myself from, because whether you like it or not. But there is saying said, tell a friend the truth. It will not affect friendship. We should allow it to affect friendship.
Right.
So for us, as we speak very just now, across board, there's no House of Assembly without the governor. That is the LCM.
Does that
Let nobody tell you.
Does that make it a rubber stamp legislature?
I'm not saying a rubber stamp, but if that's your own meaning to it, so be it. But what I'm saying, if you take the governor away from men,
but the governor is not a member of the House of Assembly.
Have you wondered why there are, or you will say, let's try to take it to the National Assembly, that the president is not a member of National Assembly? Does that answer your question?
But again, we're talking about
trying to look at it. That would suffice.
I'm saying Governor Monday Okpebholo was not was not elected to be a member of the House of Assembly.
President Ahmed Bola Tinubu was not elected or appointed to be a member of the National Assembly. And he's serving in his
capacity as the president.
Then what is happening in the National Assembly?
Where they are legislating.
How?
You
saw what happened in Rivers Saga. That where the issue of voice vote,
the state of emergency,
where the population there was not even up to 1/3 of the population of the national.
So is that also replicated in Edo State?
They're putting me again on the hot seat. They are my friends.
I'd like to say a big thank you to
Thank you very much,
Honorable Destiny Abulele, for coming.
Nice to be here and see you again.
Yes, a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Incidentally, that's what we're living in. We continue to watch developments, not just in Edo State, but across the country as they unfold. But just to remind you that the views of our guests are their opinions, and I'm Muyi Agumofegbe on behalf of Queen Agaba and the entire team here at Global Television. So thank you for watching.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle has to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.